Well, good morning to anybody who may be listening this day, and I hope everything's going well in your life, wherever you may be, and if you even exist. If you don't exist, I suppose it doesn't matter. But it's a somber day for me because I'm going to go to see a solicitor and deposit my last will and testament, which my sister has told me I should do, and it's been on my mind. She knows more about these things than do I. And it's also going to cost me quite a bit. So it's a bit of a somber day, but at least I'll get that out of the way. And I hope I make godly decisions as to where the money should go. I don't have any money, but I do own the house that I live in, which is fairly valuable. I mean, just an average house, really, but it's still a lot of money these days. The price of the property has gone to, and really, it needs to be reversed. This is one of the problems. It would have been more godly for me to put the house on the market for a low price when I tried to sell it, and I would have sold it. But the problem is that when you sell something cheap, or when you give something valuable away out of principle, as it were, it'll fall into the hands of the most wicked men. This is what I've understood. I was giving stuff away when I moved into this house, and free cycling rather than selling stuff that had a value. And the people that came to pick it up were traders. Well, not that traders are wicked, they were opportunists, and I realised it at a certain point. There are people that make it their business to pick up a bargain. That's what they do from morning until night. That's a little bit what my New Age friend does, actually. That's why his house is full of junk. Picking up a bargain online has become quite a business. So you're locked into the system, really, and I just tried to sell it at the value that the realtor had recommended, which was probably too high. That's how he got my business. It's a wicked world, really, is it not? So that's the day anyway, and it is Monday, I have to say, because I spent the last 4 days out of sync by one day. And when I went to the nearby village to do a bit of shopping and put in my passport application, everything was closed, and I couldn't quite work out why. Well, not everything was closed, but the post office was closed. I thought that's very odd. It was a bit quieter, and the buses were rather infrequent, I thought, but I didn't twig until I got home, and I don't know whether it was something online, and I realised, well, my Lord, it's Saturday, it's not Friday at all. Or rather, it's Sunday, it's not Saturday at all, I should say. Which is good, because my appointment is booked for today at 2:30, and I would have been at home as far as I was concerned. It was Sunday afternoon. This is one of the problems when you live alone, I think. And the work has dried up, so I don't really have any references as to what day it is, and I don't particularly care, I suppose. Well, I would like to know, But I've learned through this constitutional stuff that I've been looking into, and I don't know enough about it, and I've neglected it at my peril. It was many years ago that a truther, who I still know and I'm friendly with, informed me that the Union flag, the Union Jack, or the butcher's apron, was actually showing the domination of, well, I think he put it Scotland and Ireland by England, but really it's the domination of all nations by Great Britain, which is an institution created not under common law, but under administrative law. And it's the thing that's binding us. He told me that, must be 10 years ago. And it's always stayed in my mind, and it's made me suspicious of the butcher's apron, the Union Jack. Although I was thinking of flying one for good cheer, but I think I won't now that that's all been confirmed to me. The gentleman that I was listening to recommended, I think he called it a withen or some kind of a dragon flag, apparently is older and more authentic for England than the St. George's Cross, of course, which I'd identified as having Roman origins, which is unsurprising, I suppose, the way that things have been forced. And you see, when Great Britain returns to Christ, returns to our ancient constitutional rights and reinforces them, then not just Britain, but the whole world will be restored. Because Britain, in a manner of speaking, is the head, and England, rather, is the head. I shouldn't have said Britain, really. It's England that's the head, appointed by God as the site of the holy throne of David. That's why it's so central. So when England is restored, then it will be like a knock-on effect, as it were, because the law will be reinstated. So I'm still enthusiastic about Rupert Lowe and the Restore Party. I pray that this will be the solution. This is the first step in what will be, quite a long and perhaps even bloody process. Well, certainly bloody, because if the law is applied, then we must be putting people to death. That's just how it is. Treasonous actors in places of power and people who are involved in harming children on a systematic basis and eating human flesh and all these sorts of terrible acts that we hear of. If these things are proven in a court of law, and if they're true they will be, then these acts are punishable by death. There's no point in putting people in prison. In the olden days, the prison, might have been used perhaps for a debtor, while his nearest and dearest scrabble around to get the necessary funds to release him. Somebody who's stolen, they might keep the fellow in ward, I suppose, for a few weeks, but, putting people in prison for years is just a wickedness. If the crime is worthy of death, then the prisoner dies. If it's not, then some arrangement is made and some restitution, assuming the fellow is guilty, of course, he's been tried and convicted. There's no need for this ridiculous prison system. But everything will be restored in that manner. And the important thing is, you see, that Rupert Lowe acts in line with biblical principles at all times. Now, he's not, as far as I know, a Bible scholar or anything like that, but that doesn't particularly matter. In fact, it's better, because once you get into the Bible, you get the religionists coming out of the woodwork and telling you this is wrong and that's wrong and all the rest of it. But his actions have been, as far as I can tell, biblical. He's been honest, he's been open. He hasn't struck hands with the wicked. And this is tremendously important. Many people are calling for him to make a covenant with the leader of another party that's very popular. But that man is a man of Belial. This cannot be done, because Restore Britain and the reinstatement of England and Scotland and Ireland and Cornwall and Wales will occur with the Lord on our side. We have to return to godly principles at all times. So that's why alliances have to be avoided at all costs, at this moment in time, certainly. But if the Lord is on his side and is on our side, then nothing can stop us at all. We've seen this, so many times in the Bible. Where Jonathan, and his armor bearer, two men, effectively destroy the Philistine army of hundreds of thousands. It's quite an inspiring thought, really, although things, days seem to be quite dark at the moment, and, there's a certain creeping apathy and pessimism as the wicked seem to be gaining strength. It's just their dying gasps, I believe. So, if anybody's listening, I hope you have a nice day and everything. And, I don't know whether there's any point really in talking on the internet, but too many people do it. And, people just need to think for themselves. It's not as though I'm telling people how to think. It's just what I think. And, if you agree, then if you're in Britain, I guess, vote Restore Britain. And if you're elsewhere, then vote for those sorts of principles and those sorts of godly principles. And don't, tactical voting, it's the pragmatic solution. People will tell you, well, if you don't do this, then the other fellow, who's even worse, will seize the prize. But it's not godly. You can only strike hands in this matter with a man who follows the principles of Scripture as closely as possible, shall we say. God bless now.